Hi everybody, I'm Janae and welcome back here to my channel. And here in this space we talk about things that help us to connect more deeply with ourselves or activate that interconnection, as I like to call it. So sometimes those topics are related to mental health, sometimes to spirituality. Today I specifically want to talk about the brain and our thoughts. So when it comes to the brain, one of the things that I feel that is just so important for us to begin to accept as human beings is that our brain has this function of creating thoughts. And it's going to create thoughts all day long, right? No matter what we're doing, the brain's going to create thoughts if it wants to create thoughts, because that's what it does. And I have noticed, amongst people that there's this attempt to try to stop the brain from doing this function. That somehow I'm going to come in as the human being that I am, and I'm going to stop my brain from doing what it's doing, and I'm going to, or if I can't stop it, I'm going to control the thoughts that it has. And I'm going to be able to manage all of it, right? Well, I want you to take a step back for a second and ask yourself, has that worked yet for you? Have you yet been able to stop your brain from doing what it does, which is create thoughts? And have you been able to control the thoughts that it creates? If you are, more power to you. I personally have not mastered that 100% at this point. And I really got to a place in my life where I was like, really, it feels like a drain and a waste of energy to even try to do something that I'm not going to be fully successful at anyway. The reality is that my brain will continue to do what it does as long as I'm here in a physical body, as will yours. Now, when we're dead, it will stop thinking. However, we're not dead. That's not the goal. We're not trying to achieve that at this point, right? So as long as we're still here and we're living, we may as well accept the fact that our brain has thoughts. So I came up with just a few pointers that I wanted to share with you today, specifically all about beginning to just live with your brain and the thoughts that it creates in what I hope will be a less anxiety-producing, less stressful type of way for you moving forward. And one of the first step that I have here is to just accept the fact that your brain's function is going to think. One of the first things with most things that we do in this world when we're trying to move forward or make any types of changes is to just accept what already is. And your brain's going to continue to think. Trying to sit there and say, I'm going to control it, and I'm going to resist it, or I'm going to fight against the thought that it's giving me, or I'm going to pretend that those thoughts aren't there, is going to do nothing but cause more stress and upset for you. So that doesn't help, right? The second thing that we can do is just acknowledge the thoughts that come up. Sometimes our thoughts just want to be seen and acknowledged. It's sort of like if you think about having a toddler or a little child with you and they're pulling on your pant leg or your shirt or something, and they're like, look at this, look at this, look at this. That's all sometimes that our thoughts need, is just for us to look at them and see like, oh, okay, that was a thought. Thank you for sharing yourself with me. That's fine, and then move on. It doesn't have to be something that you latch onto and say, okay, this is the thought that I'm having, and now that's, I have to accept this. This must be me. This must be true. The next thing that we have is that non-attachment to our thoughts. This really falls in line with number 2 as well. So number 3, the non-attachment, also I think overlaps with number 2. Realizing we don't have to attach to the thoughts that we experience. If I have a thought today that I have this long list of things to do and it's just not even possible for me to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish today, I'm attaching to that thought and I'm already creating it as being true, even though I haven't actually experienced the rest of my day yet. So I don't know what's going to take place the rest of this day. I don't even know. So I don't know if that thought it's a true thought. And it's really not, it's just a thought. So there is that piece to help you in that non-attachment and help you with acknowledging and starting to see your thoughts. There's this technique that's used in dialectical behavioral therapy, also known as DBT. It's a really simple mindfulness technique. And I was going to share that with you so that you can practice it as well. And the technique is simply allowing yourself to, you can sit You could even be standing. You could be just about anywhere, actually. Typically, people would be sitting down, or you can lay down, or you can just be moving about your day. And in your mind, when thoughts are coming up, you just simply would imagine yourself being like in a field, or you could be near the ocean. You can place yourself wherever you'd like to be. And just seeing your thoughts come in. I have this thought that my day is going to be a horrible day. Well, as that thought comes into my mind, just allowing that thought to be placed up onto a cloud in the sky. And then just watching the thought float by. And then I have another thought comes in. That thought says, you're no good. You just can't make it at this stuff that you want to do. And I see that thought. I'm like, okay, thank you. You're a thought, and you're there. And I'm going to place you up on that cloud and watch you float by. And then I have another thought come in. Oh, well, don't make that phone call because that person's just not going to be able to help you. All right, that's a thought that I have. Whatever service it is that I need. They're not going to be able to help me out. Again, I place that thought up on the cloud and allow it to go by. And so, the practice is just simply called placing the thoughts on the clouds. And that's just a very simple thing we can do to start detaching from the thoughts. Another thing that we can do here, number 4, is to begin to notice when are our thoughts things that we actually need to act upon versus when are our thoughts things that are just really random thoughts that are coming to our mind, or perhaps not actually helping us in any way. So, for example, a thought that we may need to act upon would be perhaps following up on a business lead, or perhaps calling a contractor because you have work that needs to be done on your house, or contacting a friend, or doing something. It's an actual task-oriented related thought. And when that happens, first thing you can do just to help get that thought out of the head is just jot it down. I find it really, really helpful to keep either paper near me or to have a whiteboard or something that I'm close to, someplace where I can jot down my thoughts quickly, when it's something of that nature, so that I'm getting it out of my head, I'm putting it somewhere tangible, and then I can come back and act upon it when I'm able to. And a thought that, on the flip side, a thought that isn't really action-oriented, isn't something that you need to follow up on. I mean, these can be thoughts that come up about yourself, thoughts about other people, just random things that come in. Like you could be at the store and you're like, so why is that person wearing the skirt they're wearing? Or why are they doing what they're doing? Or who does that person think they are? Or who do I think I am for doing what, this particular thing? Those kind of thoughts that really, they produce a lot of judgment, or whether that's projected onto yourself or projected onto other people. They could be beliefs perhaps that are coming up, or maybe that got triggered by something that you experienced in your day. Whatever it is, but it's really not something that is serving you. And it is something that is not something you have to act upon. So those are thoughts that you can also put up on that cloud and just allow them to pass by. And if they come up again, you put them back up on the cloud again, as many times as you need to. And then the 5th thing is not identifying yourself with the thoughts that you have. There's this tendency for us human beings to take all this stuff we have going up in our head, right, and make it all about us. And say that all this stuff I'm experiencing, all of these thoughts that I'm having are me. This is who I am. I'm limited to all these little neurons and everything that are firing and all these words that are flying through my head. And they're not us. They're thoughts, but they're not who we are. And when we start to identify with these things that are not actually who we are, one of the things that can happen is it can start to produce within us feelings of shame, perhaps feelings of self-blame, like, oh my goodness, I was having these negative thoughts about this other person. That other person didn't do anything to me. Why am I thinking that way about them? So now I'm not just having the thought, but now I'm also experiencing this self-blame plus shame, right? And then guilt for the fact that I was experiencing these thoughts. So now I have just compounded the issue by attaching myself to the thought and believing that the thought was who I am, even though that's not the case. So no longer do I have just the thought, but now I have all of these challenging emotions coming up with those thoughts. And then you may even find yourself judging the fact that you're having those emotions about the thoughts that you were having to begin with, and then also, so it becomes this very insidious like cycle, right? And it just kind of eat away at you especially over time, and if it doesn't get a chance to really be dealt with. And we deal with it again by accepting the brain's just doing its functioning, acknowledging just the fact that the thought is there, allowing it to be seen, not attaching to it, putting it up on those clouds and allowing them to just float by, and noticing, when they're thoughts we need to act upon and when they're not, and then not identifying ourselves as being those thoughts. So the more and more that you practice some of these simple steps and stuff, I hope that it will help you to release some anxiety, perhaps even release some worry, and release stress in particular, as well as depression. It makes total sense that in our world today, we can find ourselves in such heightened levels of anxiety, stress, and depression when not only do we have all of these internal things that we're experiencing, all these thoughts that we're experiencing, because again, that's what the brain does, it creates thoughts, but now we're attaching to them. Now we're thinking that we are those thoughts. Now we're shaming ourselves or blaming ourselves or guilt-tripping ourselves for having those thoughts. So it all makes total sense. But the one thing that I want to come back to, and that's that self-empowerment piece, which is that we get to make some choices and begin changing these patterns. We don't have to continue the patterns that we have learned, over time and from each other, really. So I hope that some of these tips will be of help to you. And please, share your experiences and using them in the comments below. And so I look forward to seeing you next time. And in the meantime, you take care of yourself. Bye-bye.